Hello, I'm Mr. Kent of MrKent.com, and I appreciate all the comments that are coming in because of my last video where I crashed my drone. And please do not stop commenting. If you have a comment to make, I appreciate it. I consider my subscribers and anybody who makes a comment, consider you my friend, and so don't take this video wrong, but I want to explain something that a lot of people, I think they're misunderstanding in my video. First of all, let me qualify my statements by saying that I know about electricity and batteries. In 1968, I got my amateur radio license, and I'm still licensed as an amateur radio operator. Shortly after that, I got into broadcasting. I was a chief engineer for a radio station, and I assisted a chief engineer for a TV station, and so I know about electronics. I worked for a short time for Microsoft doing tech support, and so that doesn't make me smart or anything, but I get some comments from people who I guess they think that because I'm old, you know how old people don't know anything. Anyway, so this is why I'm making this video. I want to do an experiment, and I'm not sure how it's going to come out, but I'm going to do an experiment because people were telling me that my battery went dead while I was flying my Bebop using the Ariga Bebop app on my tablet, and it had to be quite a coincidence that when I lost contact, it fell out of the sky because the battery was dead. So what I'm going to do is, this is the battery, and you can see that it's still kind of together, and I'm going to get a close-up over here, and I'm going to put it on my charger, but I'm going to set it to discharge at 1 amp. When we discharge it at 1 amp with a load on it, we can tell how many volts were left in this when my drone crashed. Then we'll know for sure whether it was the battery or the app. And I don't know. I haven't tried it on this battery. I've done discharging on other batteries. Oh, and by the way, I've been working with LiPo batteries for several years, and I've ruined some, and I've learned how to try to help some get rejuvenated, which doesn't always work very well. And then I've learned how to take care of batteries. So, but a battery, you can't really tell whether a battery voltage is right or wrong unless you put it onto a discharge and start drawing a load. Then you'll know how many volts were actually available when my drone crashed. I don't know how it's going to come out, but we're going to give it a try and just take a look. I got to get close up, so I'm going to turn the camera off and turn it back on again, and we'll get it so I can show you whatever turns up. So let's go to the experiment here. Okay, I've got it set up, and I've got the the damaged battery laying in a metal can, so that if when we start running things, we don't want to. If there's a short in there, we don't want to have it where we can't just pull the plug and run outside with it. So that's why it's set up in the metal can. And if you can see the, I'll have to zoom in maybe. Let me see here. We'll turn this a little bit. And we'll crank this down a little bit. I think if I can undo this thing. Crank it down so you can get a better view of the charger. About right there. Okay. And we want to turn that just a little bit. Crank it down a little bit. All right, so now you know the situation, and you might be able to see the charger. Hope this works. I mean, I hope you can see it. Okay, so right now it's on a charge, but what we want to do is we want to go to a discharge. So we'll go through the sequence here. This would be to balance the battery. This would be a fast charge. This would be for storage to get it down to 3.7 volts. And this is a discharge. Now I've got it set for 12 volts and 1 amp. And so it's going to discharge about 1 amp. And that will probably pretty well simulate how much current is being used while it's flying, because it's a 2.7 amp battery, and Bebop claims it'll last for about a half an hour. So it might draw a little bit more than 1 amp, but this is a good way to see what, with a load on it, how much voltage is there. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to hit the start button. Got to hold down on it. Okay, now we're going to look at all the cells. So you can see that there's 4 volts on each cell. Okay, and it's slowly discharging that, drawing a 1 amp out. So that I haven't tried this before. This is the first time I plugged this in since the Bebop crashed, and as you can see, it's discharging and slowly bringing the voltage down. So with a load on it, it still had 4 volts per cell, and that's 12 volts total. Okay, so it decided to stop discharging, and so that's kind of shows you with a load on it how much voltage was there. Okay, I just realized an error I made on the first discharge, so I'm going to correct that because I know that'll invite more comments about how I did it wrong, which I did. So let's go ahead and try it again. I hope you can see the screen. I'm not sure it shows up too well in videos, but I'll just hope it does. Okay, so right now it's on 2.7 amps, 11.1 volts for charge, but we don't want to go to charge. We want to go to discharge. 1 amp. Now we're going to change the voltage. So we're going to go over here and we're going to knock it down to like 9 volts, because the reason it quit the first time was when it got to 12 volts, it said, okay, I've discharged it. So now we'll go ahead and put the load on it. Okay, now it's discharging. And we'll let this run for a little while. I might even speed up the video. But as you can see, the battery was only down to 12 volts or 4 volts on each cell. And we'll discharge it, and we won't take it all the way down to 9 volts because you don't have time to watch this video that long. And this wasn't my best battery. It's an old battery, and so one of the cells was a lot lower than the others. And so now everything's down to 4 volts, and I took away the dog pan because it looks like it's going to discharge just fine without a fire. So we'll see if we can get them all down to 3.9 and below 12 volts, and then I'll turn it off. But the reason it quit before is as soon as it got down to an even 12 volts, then it shut down and said, okay, I've hit the 12 volt mark. And this will go until it gets down to 9 volts, which means it's going to be about 3 volts in each cell. And that's going to take a little while. And so I'll just get it there. Now we're down below 12 volts. And it'll keep going until it gets down to 9 volts. When it gets down to 9 volts, it'll beep, 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 and it'll be through. So I wanted to clear that up because I know I'll probably get some comments on that. So this is actually the second time now. I want to keep the first time because I wanted to make sure I was being totally honest with everybody. So there you can see that it's discharging, and it's down to a little less than 12 volts now. So the battery was definitely not faulty when it comes to my Bebop 2 crashing to the ground. So once again, thank you for listening, and God bless.